his final words, I found an ace that I could.
Welcome, everybody, to Off Day with Ballpark Nation. We are here live again after a couple of weeks off. Luckily, I guess not a couple of weeks off, but some time. Andy, how's life for you? How are you doing?
I mean, it's just 3 episodes. I'm living the high life in a Homewood Suites near downtown Austin, right off a rainy street. I'm headed to the metropolis that is Round Rock, Texas this morning for my actual job that actually pays me. So, little road tripping today.
Little road tripping, and then back to the H town after that for the weekend.
Meandering back to Houston this evening to go to Bob Schneider at the Mucky Duck with some friends. So.
Oh, good. That's a good show.
And I'm having an Austin experience in Houston. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
Although I have often said that there's a lot of things about Houston now, especially inside the loop, that it's what Austin pretends it is for visitors.
Like what Austin used to be and doesn't want to tell itself it's not that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
As it will take me 15 minutes to get out of the hotel parking lot because of the interstate construction right outside the door. I'm pretty jazzed about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for you. Well, I mean, there's some good news, I guess. It's funny. We make a lot of, because we've got some politics to talk about today, and we make a lot of comparisons.
Is there stuff going on, Jim?
There's stuff going on. And I woke up pissed off at the administration in a way that I've not been pissed off at this administration in a long time, but I'll get to it. But we make it. There's a lot of comparison to the Emperor's New Clothes. That's the Houston Astros right now, right? Like, look, they're a game and a half out. And frankly, you're a game and a half out. And what do we always say? If you can get to win that division, and it seems like nobody really wants to, you can make a run in the playoffs. And there is, I think, enough top end talent. The Astros, if we're being honest, the Astros are as talented in the very top echelons of their roster as any team in baseball. The below that, there's a steep fall off. The worst outfield in baseball, possibly the worst outfield OPS in Astros history. But you're a game and a half out. If you're Jim Crane, what is your thought process? I think Jim Crane's smart enough to know you can't push all your chips in to try to win this year, but maybe you're not selling. Like, what is your thought process if you're being honest and you're being Jim Crane?
If I'm Jim Crane, I'm wondering if I should get the newest Airstream for myself. I just give it away to friends as a tax write-off. Wondering if my next private jet is going to be something that is more luxurious than my last private jet, or that if I should own 5 yachts instead of 4. Those are the problems that Jim Crane has. The Astros have different problems. There's a lot of Crane bashing going on, and some of it is deserved because this roster construction, while you've got some people I think asleep at the wheel from an on-field perspective and from a roster construction perspective, they are at least hamstrung by the idea that Jim Crane wanted to be under the tax threshold at least to start the season. And so some players that probably would have been better than what we have in the outfield right now were dealt away to save money. And I don't think anybody's made a secret of that. It wasn't like somebody said, hey, we really would need to get rid of Jesus Sanchez to get Joey Loperfido back. That's the thing. Yeah. Joey Loperfido had 5 more years of club control, and he doesn't make anything. He makes league minimum.
And it had about the same offensive output last year.
Right.
Sanchez.
But yeah, hindsight being 2020, Sanchez would be more valuable in our outfield than Loperfido has to this point. I'm loath to say this because I know how Twitter is going to react. Hi, Twitter. Mauricio Dubon is having a better outfield season than most of our outfielders. So he would have been a better addition, but he also makes $6.1 million as a utility player. So concessions had to be made. I'm just struck by, I don't think the Astros were ever as bad as they were when they were losing 8 games in a row in April. I don't think they're as good as they are right now, winning 5 of their last 6 series. So the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. They still have, a 3-game gap just to get to 500. They have not proven that they can win consistently 3, 4, 5 games in a row. So it's going to be this kind of uphill slog. And for Jim Crane and for Dana Brown, that probably triggers, well, we need to get some help. We need to buy. We need to. And that brings us to the problem that we have had as Astros fans for the last 3 or 4 years is who wants this collection of never going to be's that we have in AA and AAA right now. We don't have a talent pool that we can deal from, and the little bit of talent we have, we should be hanging on to because
Right.
our major league roster is getting old. And we've seen this year they can go be ineffective for long stretches of the baseball season.
Yeah. I mean, even Altuve, who's kind of, again, doing Altuve things and having a resurgence, I think part of him having that resurgence is where he's sitting in the lineup, which is farther down in the lineup than he has been majority of his career. And like we said at the beginning of the season, is probably where he should be hitting in the lineup. I mean, I think he hit 5th yesterday, but he's hit as far as 7th since he's come back. So, yeah, I tend to agree. I don't want to see anything crazy happen one way or the other. I don't necessarily want to see him sell like everyone, but I think if somebody calls about Christian Walker, you're silly to not make that deal.
Yep, absolutely. And the holes on this team, the glaring holes on this team are still the glaring holes that were on this team at the end of last year, at the beginning of this season. We need a left-handed bat in the outfield who can play every day and put up consistent consistent offensive numbers. To date, Dana Brown has been on this job for 3 years. And the day that he landed in Houston, and I know we talk about this every week that we talk about the Astros, I'm going to get outfield help, left-handed help, and it's going to, and we've yet to see it. Jesus Sanchez was the last effort to, I think, make that happen. It didn't work out in Houston. Hindsight being what it is, again, he'd be helpful in the outfield the way he's playing this year. But this franchise has a real problem developing offensive talent. When you look at the guys on our roster, the only player that I would consider an above average offensive player at this point is Jeremy Pena, that this club has developed. And before that, you go back to Kyle Tucker. That's
Yeah.
a pretty big gap. Yeah, you had a great run with Springer, Correa, Tucker, Alvarez, but you start looking at position players and what we have in the farm, and the guys that people are getting excited about are in single A right now. And they might be in double A by the end of the year, but they're going to be in double A because we've had so many injuries at the major league level that everybody's basically shifted up a level that's worth anything already this year. That's not generally the sign of a good club. That's not. I mean, Lucas Spence is in AAA because he's having a good season, but if we hadn't had the rotation of outfielders that we've had, Lucas Spence would still be in Corpus Christi right now.
One of my super big concerns is we've talked about Dana Brown's not good at making deals. Like he fumbled the ability to move Paredes in the offseason, thinking he had more cards than he had. But they've already issued a public statement saying, don't waste your time asking about Walker or Pena. Why would you do that? Even if you've no intention of trading those guys, what does it help you to say that out loud?
I'm baffled by most of the stuff Dana Brown is doing these days, and I've held out hope that he was going to show some level of competence and grow into his job. We knew this was an on-the-job training thing. He had never been a GM before. In the first 2 years, I think he did as much positive as he did negative. But we're getting into this middle of the third year, and you look at the whole of his tenure, and the minor league system has not gotten appreciably better. The major league roster has big holes, and his answer seems to be nonsensical, almost train of thought kind of stuff. Just, well, don't ask about Christian Walker. Why wouldn't you? I mean, you're going to play hard to get, which I guess is what he's doing. Super. But why go to Chandler Rome and make that statement? Why go to Brian McTaggart and make that statement? Just be the GM off camera and work the phones. And hopefully your staff is working the phones because you do need help.
It reminds me of this old Sam Kinison bit when he was talking about how this girl he was dating just announced out of nowhere that she wouldn't do anal sex, and he's like, I didn't even want to, but now that you told me, hey, maybe that's what he's trying to do. Like I didn't even think about it, and now you said I can't have it. I mean, maybe that's what. Maybe he's like, you can't have Christian Walker. Maybe.
And the window for Christian Walker may have already closed because he's in a little bit. I mean, he had a single yesterday, but has been in a pretty big slump, striking out, I think, 6 of his last 7 at bats.
Mm-hmm.
similar to what we saw this time last year before the baby. We've given that baby a lot of credit for the Christian Walker resurgence. Baby needs to step it up.
Yeah,
I don't
we're
know what his
getting
daughter
baby.
is up to these days. She's gonna celebrate her first birthday, but I mean, really, you've got responsibilities, ma'am.
Well, I wanted to move into the next topic because
Also,
I
before we do move on, part of the reason the Astros we're even talking about them at the head of the show is because the American League is horrible this year.
and the American
I
League
look,
West is even horribler.
but I looked up. We're a game and a half out of first behind Seattle. We're a game out of the last wild card spot.
Actually, as of this morning, we're tied.
There are only 4 teams in the American League with a winning record right now. We're halfway through the season.
Yeah, I mean it's bad. It's not that your Astros are good. Now that doesn't matter. You're playing against you play the schedule you're dealt, and if you, I mean, the Astros lost to the World Series to an 89 win Nationals team, so we all know what can happen. But
this team's still
don't.
on pace to win 76 games.
But that's my point: is don't look at what can happen because the rest of it's around you and think that somehow makes you good. It doesn't. One of the things I was going to bring up is famously, I was supposed to go to spring training in spring of 2020.
You talked about it a lot.
A lot about it. A lot about going. I think 2 days before we were supposed to fly out, we all know what happened. Well, this coming up, I have in this March, because of how Easter falls, I essentially have 15 straight days off for spring break. But there's not going to be spring training again. And I wanted to just highlight with you really quickly some of what Major League Baseball has made as their, now this is now basically based on their second proposal, which means their first proposal was already rebuffed. Now, some of this I don't actually hate. It calls for a payroll ceiling of $245 million and a hard floor of $171 million. Free agents switching teams, maximum of a 5-year deal. And that if you're re-signing your own players, that can be a 6-year deal. Free agent.
Did Jim Crane's front office write some of this?
It sounds like it. Free agent contracts are limited to only being 15% of a team's annual salary cap, which I actually do like. No more deferrals. They will lower the amount of salary hikes you can get through arbitration. Owners offered to accept the player's proposal, granting free agency after 5 years service time for players age 30 or older, and to eliminate qualifying officer systems. And of course, the Major League Baseball Player Association has dismissed all of this out of hand. Andy, they're a long way from coming to some kind of agreement.
And in a normal negotiation, I think everybody knows the first offer is not the best offer, and this is clearly something that major league owners have no intention of actually happening. I don't think there's any of them that are foolish enough to think that any of that the players union was going to go, oh yeah, some of that makes sense. That wasn't the goal. That was stating their case. What I find interesting is how blatant this first offer is, because what they put on paper, what that proposal is exactly what the owners want. They want that to happen, with, I think, the possible exception of the television revenue sharing, which you did not mention.
Yeah.
Because that'll never happen either. Yankees and Dodgers are not giving up their TV money to help Kansas City. They're just not.
I will also say that most of this proposal is essentially what the NBA and the NFL already do.
Sure. But the problem is that we're 30 years past those leagues putting those kind of systems in place.
Yeah.
And I tend to believe that some of Manfred's rhetoric is working against him here. He likes to remind us, when he doesn't want to do anything about something going on with a baseball team, that the Major League Baseball is just a loose affiliation of 30 guys who own teams that happen to need to play each other, and that's we just have that unifying thing. But other than that, they're independent businesses, and we don't get involved when the Braves want to do a horribly racist chant at fans, or when San Francisco wants to protest the Giants because they have a bunch of neo-fascist Christian idiots on their team. They don't like getting involved. and that's going to prevent a lot of those things that I think a normal person walking in with no prior knowledge would go, this is a thing you should do. They should share television revenue from dollar one. They don't. They're not gonna. What they're trying to do is shift in a dramatic way the amount of revenue that goes to the players versus what goes to the owners, and limit it in a way that you wouldn't even think about getting back to these current percentages for 20, 30 years. We can talk about individual things, and there's some doozies in there, but ultimately that initial offer was every owner's wet dream because it reduces the amount of money that they would ever have to pay for talent, which is their highest cost center. It
And
eats into their
and it
profits.
would weaken the Players Association to the point that who knows what the next deal would even look like.
Yeah, I mean,
it-
and you want an example of that, look at how many times the National Football League Players Association has disbanded over the last 20 years. I think it's like 3.
Mhm.
They always come back with somebody else, and it's always like, well, we don't have any room to negotiate anything, so I don't know why we have a union.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely spells that we are a long way away from figuring any of this out. And there are things that I think in this proposal that I think would be good for the game overall. I think the sharing of TV revenue is one of those things. I think, even though probably un-American to say you can't have deferrals, it should be up to any individual to be able to discuss to
Well,
structure their contract like they
how
want.
does that work exactly? Because isn't Otani's contract deferred for like 20 years? I mean, aren't there some really far out there deferrals? If you're gonna, is he grandfathered in, which would give the Dodgers this really distinct advantage for the length of his time he's with that franchise? Or do they cut it up and rip up Otani's contract and make the Dodgers negotiate a new one? There's some, and Otani's not the only one in the situation. Bobby Bonilla has been deferred for 50 years now. I think he still has 10 to go.
Yeah.
We're
I
about to
assume
come
there's
up on
some
Bobby Bonilla Day,
grandfathering.
by the way.
I'm assuming, yeah, I'm assuming there's some grandfathering going in for all of this stuff, but who
But
knows?
I mean, ultimately, we could sit there and pick individual nits out of the things the owners have proposed and the players' union reaction to it. But I think the bottom line is you're exactly right. All you should get out of this, if you're a baseball fan, is that baseball in 2027, we might get half a season because there's going to be a work stoppage that is probably worse than any other work stoppage that this sport has seen.
And can the
Maybe
sport
up to the point
survive
of
it?
the NHL work stoppage where they just lost an entire season.
And but can baseball survive it this time? Because it's a way different environment than 94, where we've got so much more competing for our attention. I mean, we're seeing what's happening, what the World Cup is doing to soccer. And I have a feeling some of this energy, not all of it, but some of the energy is going to last. I think um baseball really would be wise, both the players and the owners, to realize that you can only screw over your fan base so long before your fan base goes and finds other things to do.
Yeah, there was at least one podcast I was listening to on my old man walk this morning that was talking about, I think it was just a amalgamation of media ratings. So probably online ratings, television ratings, radio ratings, podcast, I mean, just all this kind of stuff. But that soccer in America has passed up baseball to be the third most popular sport behind football and basketball, behind specifically the NFL and the NBA. We can argue about where college football should be in that. I don't know what their rankings were, but the fact that soccer is at least in that argument, and
Yeah.
not just because the World Cup is happening, tells you how much baseball seems to have lost the plot. And I mean, we talk about it all the time, but there's just a lack of understanding and a lack of touch with the fan base that wants to support a team. Baseball used to be about anybody being able to afford a ticket and going to a game, and it's turning more and more into a corporate game. You talk about opening day tickets against a shitty Angels team that dynamic pricing was pushing to 350 for a ticket on the lower level.
Yeah.
That's not a baseball game.
We were supposed
And I'm
to
not
go.
against capitalism by any means, but there is a point where the owners are going to have to realize that there is a finite amount of corporations, and there's a whole lot of us proletariat out there that would like to attend a baseball game and not have to choose, do I go to this one baseball game for 2.5 hours, or do I pay my mortgage?
Yeah. And then recognizing that corporate sponsors aren't necessarily the ones that are buying hats and buying gear and buying all that other ancillary
Tuning into
income,
your television shows, your streaming channels,
all
all of
that.
that.
Yeah, it's pretty short-sighted in my opinion. And we were making our plans for Ballpark Nation, and we were supposed to do the Dodgers, and it's just I can't afford I can't afford those tickets. I choose not to afford those tickets. That we will go watch the Ontario Tower Buzzers instead. Like,
Sure.
I'd rather go to a minor league game anyway, and just the prices. The prices have caused me last minute to not go see even the Reds. Even the Reds was ridiculous with how much that ticket cost.
Well, I mean, I realize California is a big state, but if you told me we're going on a California baseball trip, I would just as soon do a tour of Chavez Ravine without seeing a game and then drive however long it takes to get to Inland Empire to actually have a good time at the baseball game.
Yeah, and it's 40 minutes. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of which, I will be seeing Inland Empire voice Steve Wendt at the Ontario Tower Buzzers game. You know who else is not going to be seeing the field? How shocked are you that the NFL told Sorsby to go take a hike? At first, I was very shocked, and then in retrospect, not shocked at all. Why would anybody? In fact, and I was shocked, Andy, that in their letter they pointed out that he has taken no responsibility for his action.
Well, I found the lawyer's response super interesting. So to back up just a little bit, Brendan Sorsby 2 weeks ago withdrew his lawsuits towards the NCAA and decided that he was going to declare for the NFL supplemental draft, a draft which has not been held.
Happen. Yeah,
a draft which has not been held, I think, in at least 6 years. And there had been no announcement that there was going to be a supplemental draft. So I think his mindset or his team's mindset was that, well, if I'm available, they'll trigger the supplemental draft. And the NFL basically told him that, as the NFL will do, we don't think any one player is bigger than this organization, so we'd have no desire to have a supplemental draft. And frankly, I don't know that even if we had one, you'd get picked, which turned into this, well, it's a violation of your CBA not to have one. Well, guess what, buddy? You're not protected by the CBA because you're not an NFL player yet. You don't get to be one of those till you sign a contract.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of putting the cart before the horse in this whole thing. And the bottom line is the NFL is not going to lose whatever happens with this. And Brendan Sorsby will be enjoying football like you and I will this fall from his couch, preparing for the 2027 draft. You and I won't be preparing for the draft part.
No, we won't.
Maybe to watch it on TV.
Although, you know what? After a year of not playing football, and I also, it's funny. I saw a lot of, I saw a guy that he's a Georgia fan. I think it's John Tweet Sports is his name, but pretty good dude from what I can tell. And he tweeted out something pretty funny, and it was somebody like, all this for a guy who threw for 70 yards against Nebraska last year. Like,
yeah,
that's the other thing is he's being the best quarterback in the transfer portal is like, I almost said about 9 things that were pretty offensive about overweight people, but I stopped. But it's like being the hottest dude at an ugly guy convention. Who cares?
I mean, you got the best pitcher available in the portal. Was he the best pitcher? Was he the best pitcher available in the portal?
Yeah, because any
Sorsby would have
division,
been absolutely the best quarterback available in the supplemental draft should they have held one.
they've held one. Yes. But like we mentioned on our last episode, teams like Georgia or A&M or Texas or anybody but Cincinnati is not letting their top quarterback get into the portal. That's the one position that I doubt very seriously, you're going to see a lot of major programs try to address through the portal. I think we're going to get into recruiting in a minute if we have time, but like Texas has signed its next 6 quarterbacks are in its quarterback room. Like, you're going to develop your quarterback as early as possible. I mean, we actually saw Oklahoma try to fix their quarterback room in the portal, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a few stories where you've seen Miami make a playoff run this year because they got the Georgia quarterback out of the portal. But those stories are few and far in between
And was it
because
the Georgia quarterback that put him on that run? Because he sure did shit the bed when in the
no, it
playoff.
was their defense, but
Yeah.
he at least was pedestrian enough not to hurt the team.
Sure. And if Georgia
his
wanted him, they
moments.
would have kept him.
But you're 100% right. There was very little effort made on Georgia's behalf. But oh no, please don't. I know we're not allowed to talk about Brer Bear and Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit, but that all feels very much like a Brer Rabbit situation. Oh, please don't throw me in the Briar Patch. Please don't throw me in the Briar Patch.
Right.
Song of the South.
Boy. Is that even on Disney Plus? I think that's
No,
like
you can't get it. You can't get it anywhere. And for good reason.
For good reason. Only as an historical document, it seems important, but yes, for good reason.
I think those are one of the things like the Confederate statues that should be put in a museum, and you need to go watch it with all the context being explained to you before you start watching
Before you watch it, yeah.
No, and the great thing about this, and I have a Texas Tech fan in my office, so small sample size, but she at least realizes that this was the best possible outcome for Texas Tech.
It was. They still screwed the pooch enough that they
did, and they're going to have to work over that. But she was very, very pleased when Sorsby withdrew from consideration playing for Tech this year a couple weeks ago, and I think she realized that what we're realizing is that the juice isn't worth the squeeze with this guy. A and B, you just have this stain that you have to deal with for not just the 26th season, but for seasons after that. Because there will be a certain amount of scrutiny that Tech doesn't want to invite to their program when they start just getting their buddy judges to sign injunctions to get players to play. And I know Cody Campbell is used to getting his way because he has all the money in the world. But it was nice to see that didn't happen this time. And honestly, if he was honest with himself, it's like I said, the best possible outcome for Tech, even if they don't have a quarterback for the first 3-4 games of the season.
And I think, hey, do you think they still want to play Texas? That first game?
I haven't heard much about that.
They've stopped talking about that, haven't they?
It's weird how that just fell off.
Yeah. Where are you, buddy? Come on, kid. Chalk it up. Yeah, I do think, though, that there has been some long-term, maybe not irreparable damage, but long-term damage to the Texas Tech brand through all of this, though, because they ended up on the wrong side of the most obvious story. And by the way, he's not even enrolled there anymore. I thought they cared about the young man's well-being. They're not going to keep taking care of him.
If you're going to be a team of mercenaries, if you're going to be the outlaw team, you have to win games. People used to like the Oakland Raiders because they flaunted the rules, but they won a lot of football games. Texas Tech flaunts the rules and doesn't win anything of significance, and so it's a weird kind of vibe coming out of Lubbock.
It really is like the little kid brother going, "Notice me, notice me." No,
I did, and I didn't like it.
I didn't like it. It does bring up the question, though. You know, it's funny because recruiting season for 27 is really obviously full-throated as we are just a few months away from the first signing period. And you're already seeing, like I mentioned, Texas has already signed a quarterback for the 28 class. And our fan bases are doing the thing where they're yelling at each other for whatever reason. But really and truly, man, like between two signing periods and the portal becoming so important, it doesn't really matter how good your recruiting class is, because particularly schools like ours will be able to, like, I think if you can recruit offensive linemen and quarterbacks, you can backfill the rest of your positions through the portal and stay competitive year in, year out. I know a lot of even Texas fans are saying this is the all-in year for Texas because of whatever they've done. You don't think they're not going to pony up the same amount of money next year? I mean, it's not Jim Crane in the Astros. Like, this is not a same situation.
Well, in Texas, it depends how the tort market is going and how the oil prices are faring. So given our current government, who knows how either of those things are going to work.
Although the oil price is pretty good right now, buddy.
Right, but according to certain orange people, it's all coming down. And then, matter of fact, we're going to sue the gas companies because they're not bringing the gas prices
Yeah,
down fast enough.
right.
Because I've never paid attention to how gas prices work in my life. Um, yeah, I don't want to go as far as saying that high school recruiting is meaningless because I think there are positions that you want to grow your own
Like
as
quarterback.
much as you possibly can. And I think offensive line, quarterback, and defensive line are where you should be making your bread and butter. I think the skill positions, those should be plug and play. So you should be able to pick a good wide receiver or a better wide receiver than what you have. Every coach would tell you they want to grow their own. They want to recruit high school kids that are 18 years old and have them in the program for 4 or 5 years. That's not realistic anymore. Do I like the fact that my college right now has, depending on what source you're looking uh, at minimum a top 3 signing class? I do enjoy that. They've got somewhere between 8 and 10 5-stars that have signed to play for A&M, a bunch of offensive linemen. I just don't think you waste a lot of capital with high school recruiting the way it used to be because that money is being spent on established players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're going to see, and I know we have Indiana as an example of a school that has done it, but I don't think it's going to be commonplace for a team of just purely 85 guys who have played here for 1 year kind of thing being consistent national championship
Well,
contenders.
Dion's tried it in Colorado for 2 years
Yeah,
now, and it's failed.
right. So I think there's got to be a blend. And I think that high school recruiting, if you look at your school, you look at our schools, it's not, there is no point in pumping up your recruiting ranking by hiring a bunch of or recruiting a bunch of 5-star safeties who are never going to see the field. I know you had a coach who was really enjoyed his Red Bull and cocaine. What was his name? Prior to between Strong
Oh,
and
Herman.
sorry, yeah, Tom Herman.
Well, he loved to get him some safeties, didn't he?
But he had really highly rated recruiting classes. But if you look at those really highly rated recruiting classes, you can only play 2 safeties at a time, maybe
Yeah.
3 if you have one of them on a nickel. I've got 20 5-star safeties. Well, great. None of them play.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good
I
on
have
you.
a signed Charlie Strong picture in my office because we met him and he was the nicest guy.
Sure. So to your point, quarterbacks, offensive line, defensive linemen, those are where you should be spending your high school capital. Wide receivers, running backs, defensive backs. I think that with some exceptions, because there will be superior talent at the high school level, those are the places where you can fix your roster through the portal. But most coaches would tell you they'd rather only have to cherry pick the portal rather than
Sure.
rebuild a team. And big programs will have the ability to do that. Smaller programs are going to churn
And
rosters every year.
we're talking about on this show, and we mentioned Georgia earlier. Like those are 3 teams that are halves that are going to be able to do both. Like that's the thing. Texas's recruiting class will finish in the top 5 for 2027. It's already got momentum. I think 3 5-stars signed in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, like it's really we could be Yankee fans with what we're talking about when it comes to our program. Like
well, if you talk, I mean, not to keep picking on Tech, but I think it's either Tech or U of H had no high school recruits last year or the year before. They just didn't bother to do it because there was no point to it. Because they were going to go full in on the portal and buy their team. I think that was Tech. And so they ended up with like 5 guys, 6 guys maybe that were high school players. But if you've got resources, even great resources, why waste them on one place when you're getting better success from the other place? And I think that was the thought process. It's not the long-term answer for building a team, building a program. But there are teams who are going to try to do it basically because Kurt Signetti was able to do it in Indiana. But
it also really does.
Unfortunately, not every program has Kurt Signetti as their head coach.
It also really, Andy, it's also really sad because I think that is the kind of approach, if the approach becomes ubiquitous, and I agree with you, I don't think it will be, but it is the kind of thing that really will remove some of that heart from college football.
Yeah.
But you need guys like Michael Taft. You need a Michael Taft that's there because he wants to play for Texas and doesn't want to play for anybody else. And you need that 12th man type guy in College Station that's like I know that you guys are guns for hire, but I'm an Aggie. And when but Texas Tech doesn't really have any kind of other reputation. You're not going to see Texas Tech like be excited about graduation rates the way you see again out of our two schools, because our schools actually have academic reputations. Like it's
They throw tortillas. Does that count?
not anymore. They're not allowed to. They
I
can't even do
mean,
that.
allowed. Cody Campbell
Yeah.
just paid that fine.
He did. Yeah. I wanted to hit on a couple of really quick political issues before we go, because we do a lot of picking on Donald Trump on this show, and we're even going to do that here in a minute. But I want to talk a little bit about what happened with New York and the election of Democratic Socialists. And it's so on brand for the Democratic Party to run the risk of fumbling this amazing opportunity they have in 2026 and 2028. Now, most likely, Democratic Party recognizes that the type of candidates you elect in New York are not nationwide type candidates. Mm-hmm. But they're not saying that right now. They're saying this is the direction of the Democratic Party. We live in a center-right country, and they would rather pinch their nose and roll with Republicans again than run the risk of electing Democratic Socialists. Only the Democratic Party could fuck this up.
And they won't fuck it up in the midterms, but by the time 2028 rolls around, they'll have come up with some new brand of fuckery to completely lose the moment that they could have.
And then by then, Trump's been 25th, and so...
Well, but I mean, you're looking at a party that still looks to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries as leaders. They've proven over the last 6 years that they're not leaders. Yeah. They're not leadership. They're just the guys who happen to be in place.
I mean, Hakeem lost almost every primary he endorsed.
Yes, because nobody thinks that they're going to do anything but kowtow to whoever happens to be in power or whoever happens to be in favor. The idea that they are openly campaigning against Madami or other socialist candidates, like they have been the past week and the past several months, is because they're afraid of losing their position of power. And ultimately, I think the people who are willing to vote left or willing to vote Democrat, or even the independents who are willing to look at something new, see that they're not offering anything new. And it's not just messaging. I know I've heard a lot of people, well, the Democrats are horrible at messaging. They are, but they're also horrible at reading the room. And they always have been. And so it's, you look at somebody like Chuck Schumer, who is an elderly man. There's not a nice way to, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but he's too old to be in the office that he holds. And his campaign stumps, when he does have to campaign, I think it's the Smith family, but it's this made-up family of Republicans that he claims to talk to, and that's how he gets his views on what the other side is after or wanting, and why they couldn't vote for Kamala Harris and all. And it turns out he's so out of touch that he couldn't just actually talk to people. He had to make up a family and make up what their talking points would have been. I don't know. He could talk to the people in Congress that are Republican and find out what their talking points are, because they're not exactly secret about them.
Yeah.
He could talk to the Heritage Foundation and find out what Project 2025 was actually about. It wasn't a secret, although, Donald Trump didn't know anything about it until he did. But yeah, the Democrats are absolutely going to blow this moment. There's enough.
But here's the thing, dude.
There's enough animus over what's going on right now that I think you will see a large amount of seats shift to the Democratic side, and they'll probably lose the House. They'll lose the GOP will lose the House, and they will get close to losing the Senate. I don't think they're going to lose the Senate because of the economy.
Well, they're not going to. I'll tell you why they're not going to win the Senate. The Democrats aren't going to win the Senate, but part of that is that the Mandami thing hasn't had a chance to really work its way through the Democratic Party at large. If it does, the Democratic Party will not win nationwide. They will lose. Mandami is a communist, and I don't care what he says. When he's got his top aides saying we need to elect more communists, he's a communist. When he talks about seizing means of production, that's communism.
Sure, but our federal government does that right now.
I mean, well,
we have a president who's talking about seizing the means of production.
Well, exactly.
Or who has actually done it in some cases.
There's a reason why I don't vote Republican anymore. But I'm that voter that if it's between a Mandami style Democratic Socialist / communist or rolling with the Republican Party again, I'm probably going to roll with the Republican Party again, because there are certain things that are just too far out of bounds for me. And the Democratic Party is going to fuck this moment up by not moving to the center. And it's going to be sad and also hilarious to watch.
Well, I don't know that I'm going to have a whole lot of laughter for it, because it just means 2 to 8 more years of the status quo, which is destroying the country. And I don't think that I'm being hyperbolic with.
You're not.
The economy is one thing, and I think that beyond everything else, not every voter is as educated as you and wants to be as educated as you. So they will vote based on how gas prices are. They will vote based on how grocery prices are. They will vote on vibes. The Democrats won't win for a lot of reasons, but they won't win mostly because they don't know how to put out vibes. They don't know how to capture a moment. There's a way to embrace, and I'm not saying they should or shouldn't, but if you've got coastal cities, coastal states, big blue cities, there's a way to embrace some of the populism that Mandami ran on and won on, and translate that to middle America. You soften the edges, but it's a communication thing. Reagan, for instance, had a lot of unpopular policies, but his reputation as a great communicator made them feel a lot better, made people feel a lot better about things. And we can look back in hindsight and see there were some damaging things that his administration did, as well as some positive things. But at the moment, he captured a certain zeitgeist that was going on in the country and was able to communicate a vision through the city on the hill, which I know was Bush, but that's
No, it was Reagan. Reagan's the one who decided shining city on the hill.
I feel like HW repeated it at least once enough in my brain that it's stuck there.
That it sank in.
But is able to set a vision. I've really always been very critical to myself about how we elect people and what we consider leaders, because it's not about the best person for the job. It's about the person who talks the best. But that is a part of leadership, is being able to communicate your ideas.
To articulate yourself, yeah.
To articulate yourself and to sell yourself, to sell your ideas to different groups of people. Not lying, not changing the message, but if I, in my real world, have to talk to my CEO, it's different than if I'm talking to a front desk clerk at a hotel. I need to tell them the same information, but I need to relay those things in different ways. Trump, for all his ills, communicates with his base in that way. And it's now just flat out lying about shit, which is, I mean, it's so beyond the pale. Making up vandals in a 30, the slit has now got up to 350 feet in a pool.
Yeah.
That has cameras on it 24 hours a day, but nobody saw anything happening.
Nobody saw anything. I will say this. I want to get.
That's the problem with it. Circle back. You would not get a call of that, but I think that's the problem for the Democratic Party, is they don't have anybody who can communicate their vision.
No, I think that's not the problem. I think the concern I have is that Mandami does communicate exactly like you're talking about, and I think his policies may be different, but could be as dangerous to the country as.
But Mandami's not winning a national election. He is at he's at the height of where he is. I know he's. I
agree with that. I agree with that. My premise of bringing up the topic was even, I don't believe his politics work outside of New York, but if they try to, they will fail.
Sure. And if that's the supposition, the Democratic leadership, the DNC, they don't know what to do with Mandami. They won't lose the elections because they're embracing his progressive policies or his communist policies or whatever you want to refer to them as. They will lose because they're going to try to be so center that it's going to feel like nothing's different. So I'm just going to vote for the incumbent.
Yeah.
That's
you're right.
Problem.
I think ultimately you're right. I just want to see the Democratic Party become the Democratic Party, how the Democratic Party works in Michigan, not how it works in New York.
Sure.
And I forgot the senator from Michigan that I really like, forgot her name, but I want to bring up 2 more topics. I know we got about 7 minutes left, but Andy, I am as believer in the beauty of West Texas as anybody. Big Bend, if you've never been out there, some of the most beautiful country on the planet. Donald, keep your fucking wall out of Big Bend. That's all I got to say. How about that?
I mean, is it just a fence, or is he opened up drilling? Because that's the other thing he seems to want to do in national parks.
Oh, I'm sure that's following. My only hope is that all of this is getting proposed so late in the game that things can start getting stopped. And I do think that there are going to be a lot of pushback, even from Republicans in Texas, when it comes to defacing one of the biggest, one of the most beautiful parts of our state, one of the parts we're most proud of. I know a lot of people don't like West Texas. I do. I like the landscape.
And I know it's Big Bend's one of them, and I know that's what we're talking about right now, but I don't understand some of the initiatives, because there are some things that, even if I don't agree with them, I can see the line. So you're doing this because you want this result. There's no winning result from throwing a fence in the middle of Big Bend. There's nothing positive that's going to happen. I'm sure Peter Navarro, or somebody who likes to make up facts, got in Trump's head and decided this was a thing we're doing. Or more likely, it's Stephen Miller deciding he doesn't like the color of rock over there, so he wants to put a fence up and not see it. But you could do things like just leave the national parks alone, and that would relieve 20% of the heat on your back.
Mm-hmm.
But they keep pursuing these really stupid things, and they're not even distractions anymore. It's just, I want to go fuck things up. I want to put Trump in giant letters in the middle of Yosemite National Park because that's a thing I want to do. And it's just, I know it's dementia. I know it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading some of that new book by Maggie Haberman, and it sounds bad. I mean,
it's weird how Jake Tapper has nothing to say about this. I guess his book will come out after Trump leaves office.
Yeah.
Super effective there, Jake.
Way to go, Jake. I was going to talk a little bit about the World Cup today, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the Texas Volts, and we're going to end, Andy, with a 2-minute preview of what it looked like. But I'll just be honest with you. It was so much fun to go watch some professional softball. They have really designed their brand from top to bottom. And I'm not just talking about the Volts. I'm talking about the AUSA as well, the AUSL, the Athletic United Sports League. It's very girl empowered. It's very girl featured. It's very, youth softball. Look what you can be doing. You too can play professionally. And it was just a blast to be at. So that's going to wrap up the episode. I'm going to end with the preview. But Andy, we will be back, I think, on Monday. Yeah, I'll be coming to you from Portland, so it'll be like 6 a.m, but I'm going to be here, buddy.
I will not be in a kitchenette at a Homewood Suites.
Well, yay for us. I will be whispering so I don't wake up. Maybe I'll have Lulu guest host with me or something.
That's fine.
Well,
she probably has better takes than I do.
They won't be about sports, though. That's the problem. All right. For Andy, I'm Jim. This has been Off Day with Ballpark Nation.
Everybody, I'm Alicia Better with Ballpark Nation, and we are here at our first ever AUSL Texas Volts game. Check it out.
You wanna get on my level, but